going on? What's going on, YouTube? Boy G, Full On Talk Live. So now, so it's not gonna be a long live. It's not gonna be a long live. Something just to point out certain things that'll help you when you're going to buy a new used car or pre-owned car from the dealer. If you're buying a lease purchase, or if you're just buying a used car, especially for those if you're buying a used car with somebody that you know. So it might help you, and it might not, but most of the time, people will say if you go buy a used car, you're gonna need a mechanic, but you don't necessarily need a mechanic when you buy a new car. Just bring somebody from the family, bring an ex-boyfriend, bring whoever, somebody from the neighborhood, whoever you know that know how to check cars. You don't necessarily need a mechanic most of the time. You can just do it yourself. The first step you do when you go buy a car, or if you're buying a car from a used dealer, or if you're buying a car from somebody that you know, regardless of what they say to you, regardless of what they say to you, regardless if you've seen this car every day, they took care of the car, or you shopping online and you looking online, you're looking at some car, the first thing you do is pull the VIN number and do a Carfax. The first thing you do when you buy a car, you pull the Carfax. Then you check the Carfax and see what's on it. That Carfax to tell you when the car was made, the year of the car. The Carfax to tell you how many owners was on the car, how many people had the car. It also should tell you all the maintenance work on it. It's gonna print out a sheet, and it's gonna tell you everything that's done on the car. How many times it went to the dealer, how many times the dealer did an oil change, if it went to minor key, if it went to minus. It's all in the system to tell you everything about the car. Now, that's not necessarily if they got into an accident and it was paid out. So let's say you get into an accident with somebody that you know you get into an accident on the road. Then if the car was paid out, if the car was paid out amongst yourself, you wouldn't see that on a Carfax. You wouldn't see it. Or if you might want to pull a history of the car, you might only see that on an accident report. You might not see it. But 9 times out of 10, if the individual that had the car maintained that car to a certain status, you would see a whole printout on the car. Now, you do your homework before you go to the car, or if you've seen the car already. Because most of the time, when people tell you something about the car, most of the time they're gonna tell you a half story. They're gonna tell you a half story about the car. Oh, it's a nice car. I took care of the car. I kept the car in the garage. Cars in the street. Car never in the rain. Car never in the sun. I don't really want the car no more. Car running funny. Car shaking. Car smoking. It's something about the car they ain't gonna tell you. If the car was in an accident, if it had the subframe damage or frame work done, you know, most everything they ain't gonna tell you about the car. So that's why I say pull a Carfax on the car. Now, once you pull a Carfax and you're gonna check out a car, buy a scanner. I wish I had one. I thought I had a scanner in here. Anytime you go check out somebody's car, have a scanner with you. I thought I had one. Buy a scanner if you go check out anybody's car, because the scanner will let you know what's going on with the car. And I'm gonna tell you how to trick the use of the scanner. I don't know if I had one in here. I had a scanner, but I'm gonna show you how to trick. I don't have it in here. But when you go buy a scanner, right, and you scan somebody's car, a person will tell you, "Don't put that on my car." No, 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 no. Same thing. You might, I don't know, but they'll want to let you use it. But what a scanner is, you'll plug it up. Usually your code will pop up P02471 or P02472. That's like an O2 sensor, right? So you'll get a scanner and plug it up. But what you're gonna have to do, the trick is, when you get in the car, turn the car on. Let the car run for 15 minutes. Turn the heat all the way up. Turn the heat all the way up. Get out and talk to the owner. If you at a dealership or you dealing with somebody you know, this is how you can tell if you've got if the RPMs are racing, or you can tell if something wrong. Mainly if something wrong with the block. Like if it's oil mixing, water mixing, antifreeze mixing with the oil in the block. So what you're gonna do? You're gonna turn and you can check the thermostat, and you can check the water pump by doing this. Turn the car on heat, let it sit 15 minutes, let the car run. As the car builds up, it's going to get pressure. Now, pressure going to form in the motor. When pressure forms in the motor, it's going to cause the car to overheat. Now, if you got a problem with the thermostat or the water pump, you'll see the needle rise up, or you'll see the car shaking, lights, check engine light come on, then you know what's wrong with it. Or you'll start seeing it leaks from the side of the water pump. Once it starts leaking from the water pump, then that tells you right there that he has a problem that mainly he or she don't want to do a water pump, or they don't want to do a thermostat with a water pump, or you might have a problem with the timing belt. So they're not going to tell you this. Won't nobody tell you something wrong with the car because they're trying to get rid of the car and blow the car off. So that's what you need to check for. Now, once you got the hood open, once you have the hood open, you want to go and listen to the car run. Because 9 times out of 10, what they're going to do, they're going to spray Armor all over the motor. So once they spray the Armor all over the motor, the top of the motor going to be shiny because that's all plastic. What you're looking at is plastic. You're like, oh man, the motor clean, the motor clean. But what you're not looking at, if you're going to look at the top of the motor, look on the sides of the motor. The sides of the motor is where you got your valve cover. It's going to sit here. And what happened is, what you don't see is that oil is running down the side. It's running down the side onto the manifolds. Once it runs on the manifold, you can smell it. 9 out of 10, when you go get a car, they're going to steam clean the motor. Once they steam clean, or how they're going to hot water press the motor, they're going to get between the valve covers. They can't get everything. They get between the valve covers. They get on the side of the motor where the water pump, the belts, and everything is at. Now, once they do all of that, all they doing is hiding the fact that the car does have a problem. 9 times out of 10, if you buy an old car, you're going to need valve covers replaced, valve cover gaskets replaced. But you don't know that because they ain't going to tell you that. Most of the time, they might not want to change the valve covers, the valve cover gasket. Valve cover gasket is pretty much simple with these new cars. It's kind of a little weird, though. You got to go picking through stuff. So if you got a valve cover leak and it's running down the head of the motor, pretty much you got an oil pan leak. So they're not going to tell you that. So then if you come back around the corner and you look at it, oh, this got a leak. But what they're going to do, they're going to clean everything up. They're going to shine everything. You ain't going to know that. So what you got to do, too, you got to smell around. Put your face to the motor, and you have to smell. Because 9 times 10, you're going to smell antifreeze, and you're going to smell something burning. That's why I say turn the key on, and let the car run for 15 minutes with the heat. Long as that heat and everything building up, you start smelling oil you burning. Once you start smelling oil you burning, you already know what it is. Now, they're going to tell you buy this car as is. Anytime somebody tell you buy the car as is, if you coming from pay here, buy here, pay here, you know what that is. You buy the car, then you pay the car, no deal. But if you buy the car from somebody, you go to a dealer. You're going to have to pull a Carfax. You're going to have to smell around the car. Look, be nosy. When I mean be nosy, put your hands in there, touch around the car, because you're going to find oil. Now, 9 times out of 10, if you mess with the water pump, most of the cars' water pump is attached to the timing belt. So if you're going to change the water pump, you're going to change the timing belt. Depends on who's doing the job. That water pump, timing belt, and thermostat, that's like damn near $700 job. So they don't want to do that. Or it depends on if they go to a dealer. Dealer might say that's $1,500. Plus you got to add on the price of the antifreeze. So that's a $1,500 job. You go to a dealer, or if they go to a mechanic, the mechanic tell them buy the parts yourself, and I do it for like $600. You might go, okay, if I buy the parts for $600, I'm gonna spend $1,000 anyway. So that's why most 9 times out of 10, if they don't fix it, they're gonna sell to you. Once you get the car, they're not gonna tell you, you bought it like that. So before you even get to buying a car that's used, you got to do your homework first. You got to do your homework. Then once you're done with the engine, you walk around, you check all the doors, right? Depends on what state you're buying a car for. Most of the times, down on the wheel well, or on the corner panel, you might see bubbles in the paint. If you see tiny bubbles in the paint down by the corner fender, 9 times out of 10, that's rust. So if you see any bubbles in the paint, 9 times out of 10, that's rust. So what you do, you grab a pen or a knife and you pop it, you got rust behind it. So now what you don't see on this side, it's rust is forming on the back side. So if you get the car for I live in Pennsylvania, on top of the mountain. Up there we have a bad problem with rust. So if you buy any car, look at the history where the car come from. Don't buy nothing if you come from the higher elevations. Like I'm in the mountains, so you figure Mount Pocono, you You figure Utica, Ithaca, you figure anywhere upstate New York, bad. That it's like we the top of the mountain, so the atmosphere is different. So you talking about the salt, the chemicals that salt will rust the hell out of a chassis. It would eat the chassis up. So now you got bubbles everywhere. You got rust because in Pennsylvania it's like this. If you can see the rust and the rust as a whole, it could cut you. The state of Pennsylvania, they is allowed not to let you register that car. That's another thing too. If you buy a car off somebody in the state of Pennsylvania and you got a hole in the car, the quarter panel got a hole about this big, and the metal is coming out, in the state of Pennsylvania, they would not let you register that car. So now you don't spend $2,000 for a car you can't do nothing with. Most of the time in the state of Pennsylvania, you have to go get the car inspected. So say if you go get the car inspected, you go to a mechanic shop and they put the car on a lift. Once they put that car on a lift and the subframe is in the front, the subframe holds the two front wheels. If they go under there with a screwdriver or a hammer and they doing this to the subframe, and you can dig a hole inside the subframe, that car is garbage. Now you stuck with it. You know, spent $2,000. My cousin did that. He spent $2,000 for an Audi, a beautiful Audi, an Audi A4. The subframe had holes in it this big. He couldn't do nothing with it. So since he couldn't do nothing with it, he was stuck with it. He was stuck with it. And when he went to go take it back to the people, they told him, "You bought that car like that. We didn't sell you that car like that. We didn't even know the car had rust. The car sit in the driveway for 2 years." But they told my cousin, the son went to the military. They drove the car every day. The car only sit for 2 months. And I found out the car sit for 2 years. So the rust ate through the bottom of the car. So if you're dealing with cars like in West Virginia, everything, the PA to Pittsburgh, Ohio, you gotta be careful because the salt they use will eat these cars up. So if you can try to get the car at the bottom, like the bottom low end of the states, you're good. But watch where you buy these cars from. So now when you go check all the water panels, the panels, have somebody climb under the car to check the chassis for you. Most of the time, if you buy a car off the dealer or if you buy the car off your friend, they won't let you climb under the car because they already know once you see it, you ain't gonna buy it, or once you see it, you might want to zoom down because you might get it fixed. So be careful when you do that. You walk around the car, you look at the trunk and everything. If you see water coming out the tailpipe, because you gotta leave the car running, then the motor's pretty much good. You see water coming out the tailpipe. But if you see the car puffing, poof, 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 look at the smoke. That's 9 times out of 10. If you're going to look at a car and it's 65 degrees outside, that car shouldn't be smoking. I'm just keep 100 with you. So if you're outside looking at a car and it's 65 degrees, the car shouldn't be smoking. If you go look at a car in somebody's garage, that car shouldn't be smoking. The only reason why that car is smoking because 9 times out of 10, they need a head job, and that's why they're selling that car to you. That's why they're selling the car to you. So when you go out buying a car, be careful when you buy these cars, man. Be careful because a lot of people ain't gonna tell you what I'm telling you. Be careful when you buy these cars. Then when you get in the car, make sure you look at the speedometer and the tachometer for the transmission. Because 9 times out of 10, if you got a speedometer, right? Now you got the odometer for the transmission. If the needle was doing this, it's revving back and forth, and it's dropping, it's going up. Sometimes with an old car, you have to wait and let it warm up. So it'll go up here, it'll come back down, it's set. But if the car doing this and it's jumping, don't buy the car. Because something going on with the transmission or something going on with the heads of the car, and if you don't know nothing about no car, don't buy it. Because what's going to happen, you're going to buy it for your daughter, your sister, your aunt, your son, your brother, your niece, grandmother. You're going to end up buying this car, and then that car is your problem because now you got to get the car fixed. So now you're stuck with that car. So when you're going out there buying a car, be careful, be mindful. Be nosy. If you're buying a car today, be nosy. Because I don't care how much polish they put in the car, how much armor oil they spray on the top of the motor, 9 times out of 10, they hiding something from you, and now you're stuck. Like me, I know about cars, so I know if I go buy a used car, I check everything. I know what I'm getting into. I might want to buy for a project. I might want a project car, and I'm into that. You know, I got a Chevy S10 92 pickup that I'm restoring. I'm into old cars, but if you're not into that, don't buy it. You know, people, I want to buy a Chevelle. If you ain't into cars, don't buy it. Because you don't know what they did most of these cars anyway. So, you know, then when you do that, check the shocks, jump on the back of the trunk. If you go see a car, say if you see a car at a dealer, and somebody came in and returned that car. 9 out of 10, if they return the car back to the dealer off a lease, or if they swapped it, push on the back of the car and push on the front. If you got too much play, a lot of times people return cars because they don't want to replace the shocks. They don't want to do the timing belt, the water bump, the water pump. They don't want to change the sensor. They don't want to do nothing. So they go ahead and change the car in. Now, if they do that, all right, there you go right there. Somebody try to call my phone and put this back up here real quick. Yeah, somebody was trying to call my phone, but the number one thing too, when you go buy a car from say if you're going to buy a car from a dealer, if you go buy a car from a dealer, make sure you get a Carfax. Now, sometimes a dealer may tell you what you need a Carfax for. It's a good car. Somebody turned it in, it got a low mile. I don't care if it got 20 miles, 20,000 miles on it. If you buy a car from a dealer, make sure you get a Carfax, man. Make sure you get a Carfax because a dealer will put you into your first car, and it happened to me. You buy your first car. At that time, when I bought my first car, it was an Acura Legend Coupe. I bought a silver Acura Legend Coupe. Very first car. Good running car, but I didn't know at that time that when I bought the car had a water pump issues, but it was a buy here, pay here. Nice silver Acura Legend Coupe. And at that time, I didn't know nothing about no cars. So I kept driving the car overheating. Every time I went back, he was telling me, nah, Jay, it's a good car, Jay. It just could be just to change the hose. So I ended up changing hoses. And I didn't know I changed belts. And come to find out with the water pump and the timing belt. And I ended up spending I took it back to the dealer at that time. I didn't want to go to a mechanic. So I ended up taking it back to the Acura dealer and charged me every day $1,100 to do a water pump. And change the timing belt. It was expensive. And at that time, I was young, so I didn't know no better, you know? So it goes for anybody. If you buy a car, make sure you get a Carfax. Make sure you check the car. And make sure you bring somebody with you that knows you. If you know anybody that's nosy, you don't have to be a mechanic. Just know somebody who just nosy, just bring it with you. And they got a nose to smell. Like I say, smell everything. And the things you need to do now, say if you go buy the car, you like the car, you want the car. What you do is this. Don't you know if you purchase that car from the dealer, you get a free oil change? Just tell them, hey, man, can I get a free oil change? Have them change the oil for you. You know, if you can, have them change the battery for you. Especially if you're going to bring it home. And make sure you look at the tire. That's one thing I got to say, too. If you go buy a car, right, and everything look good to you, before you buy it, get in the car, turn the wheel all the way to the right, look on top of the tires. When I mean look at the top of the tires, don't look at how much meat. Oh, got new tires. Look between the thread of the tire. The tires are drywall. There's only two things that happen with the tires being drywall. Either they swap them, and if the wall of the tire got cracked all the way around, 9 times out of 10, like I say, either they swap the tires or that car sit for about a year. Sitting for about a year, snow, rain, different weather climates. Then if the car sitting there for about a year, that tells you right there, you've got to have questions when you buy a car. Because if you see any dry routes on the tire, cracks, that car sitting there for about a year, 2 years, that tells you right there they never drove the car. So now that oil sits on the oil pan and it sits between the gaskets. 9 times out of 10, that oil you're going to seep out the gaskets. Now you're going to have foul cover. I got the BMW running now. But one thing I have to do, I'm going to have to drop the oil pan on the BMW because the car sit for 11 years. The car sit in the garage for 11 years. I got the car running. I had to do a lot of things to this car. But I got it running smooth. The thing is, I got to do the oil pan because the oil sits so long that it seeped out. So I got to change the oil pan on it. Other than that, and plus I probably have to do a radiator flush. Other than that, those are pointers, right? So now, say if you go buy a used car, you take the car to Meineke, or you take the car get an oil change, and they come back saying, "Oh, my friend, if you buy SUV or car, if you buy SUV, they're gonna come back with a cup, and they're gonna say, "Oh, this is the oil for your differential." Nah, you need gear oil. That ain't gear oil. When you're dealing with oil with differential, you gotta do gear oil. So don't have them fool you with differential oil. It's gear oil, then regular oil. They'll get you with that. So they'll come back and say, your oil black. You got to change oil, and we recommend you do radiator flush. 9 times out of 10, they're not doing the radiator flush. What's going on, goof? 9 times out of 10, they're not doing a radiator flush. So they're going to charge you for a radiator flush, but they're not going to flush your radiator. And if anybody flush your radiator, you tell them no. You can do that yourself. Flushing the radiator ain't nothing but taking the plug out, draining it, plugging it back up, running the water hose, fill it up, let it out, drain it, plug it, more water, put the chemicals in there, let the car run, turn the car off, drain it. That's your radiator flush. If anybody tell you we're going to do a transmission flush, don't do it. We're going to do an engine flush, don't do it. Nah, don't do it. Because say if you do an engine flush, what you do is now if you got any old gaskets on the block, the oil you pay, all you doing now is doing a flush. It's opening up old wounds, and you're gonna start leaking on you. So be careful when you do that. Do everything yourself, man. If you can't, find yourself a mechanic that's gonna keep it real with you, a mechanic that's gonna keep it 100 with you, and you'll be all right. So if you get into buying any cars used, make sure you got a Carfax. Make sure you nosy enough to smell, touch, and hear. Most of the time, turn the car on, just listen to a car while it's running. You hear everything you need to know. You know, same thing if you go buy a new car. Sometimes, which I don't know, we had this. Shout out to Tazo. Shout out to Tazo. We had a discussion on Tazo panel one night. Now I used to haul cars from BMW. I did a year with BMW. I used to haul cars out of Greer, South Carolina, all the way up to Rhode Island. Most of the times, a lot of cars that come out the port, they get damaged. And how they get damaged? They come off the boat damage, or they come off the train damage, or sometimes if a guy's loading the car carrier up, right? He might got 9 cars or 8 cars, and sometimes he might go over and boom, tear the bumper off, or he might drive up and the car falls off the rack, or he might strap it down too hard and rip the whole and mess up a control arm or mess up the bumper. The dealer is not going to tell you that car was damaged during transport or bringing it off. They ain't going to tell you that. They ain't going to tell you that the car got hit by a chain or a strap, put a dent in it, broke the windshield. They ain't going to tell you that. So now you're going to buy a car that was damaged. You thinking it's a 2022. Yeah, it is a 2022, but most of the cars come out in November anyway, 2021. So now you're going to buy this car been sitting on the dealer from November. You wonder why they can't sell it. It's a pretty car. Why they can't sell it? So when you come to the dealer, they tell you that car for you. Oh, this car fits you. This your car. You look good in that car. You look like a businessman, businesswoman. Oh, you look good. You know what you were doing in this car. So you are happy because it's 2022. You want to. So they tell you that. So how you would know? Most of the time, if you buy a new car, pop the hood. What you want to do is look down between the bumper. Most of the time, if you pop the hood, shake the bumper. A bumper on a new car shouldn't be loose. Wait, station closed. A bumper on a new car shouldn't be loose. So shake the bumper when you look at that new car and you look between what they call is frame rails. Frame rails comes out, the bumper attached. You see the plastic, you see the foam, you see the car. Look between the bumper. If the bumper loose or the bumper look like, if this your corner panel is like this, and this is the bumper. If the bumper here or the corner panel here, if it's slightly off, 10 times out of 10 that car was hit. The car got damaged during transit. If you don't know, now you're gonna have problems. You wonder why your transmission messed up. You wonder why your engine messed up. Nah, because the car got damaged through transit, and it happens to a lot of us. So be mindful. Think about what you're doing. You go buy a car. Make sure do not allow a salesman. Do not allow a salesman to sell you anything that look good for you. You know, hey, make sure you hit the like button coming in, hit the like button going out, share this video. Maybe it's an insight video. If you go buy a car, do not let the salesman tell you the car look good for you, or your credit ain't good enough. But this what we can put you in for now. Don't let nobody do that. Because what happens is they're gonna put you in a car that you're not ready for. Now once you put you in that car is yours. Or they'll put you in the car and say, well, this car can help build your credit. So you keep the car for 1 or 2 years, then after 1 or 2 years, you bring the car back. But do you know if you left that dealer, and say you left the dealer with a car, and the car had 90,000 miles on it, right? You bought the car at 90,000 miles. By the time you keep that car 2 years, now you got 150,000 miles, and you go trade that car in, you're stuck with it. They're not going to give you, oh, you're going to help build your credit. It's not going to build your credit. And now you still got bad credit because you ain't fixed your credit. Now you're stuck with the car you can't use. So think about what it is. So if you go buy a used car, man, there's a lot of things you need to check for. Make sure you get a Carfax. Make sure you find a history in a car. If you can't get a police, get like not a police report, but get the car. You can actually call motor vehicle and get a car history report. Motor vehicle will give you a report, and that report will state that how many times this car was reported in an accident. I don't care if it hit a pothole, and you call your insurance company. Insurance company gonna relay the information to motor vehicle. Motor vehicle gonna say no, something, put it in the system. So now you have a whole sheet for that. So make sure you do that. Go check out a car, bring a scanner. Most of the codes pop up as O2 sensors, and pretty much O2 sensors will pop up on the car, or anything with another one, P424. It's an oxygen sensor on the back. So make sure you check for all of this, as I say, it's happy car shopper, but make sure you listen, watch, and smell everything. Pay attention to everything, be nosy. If you buying a car, ask a lot of questions. Don't be afraid to ask a million questions. You stuck with that car. If you into it, you stuck with the car. I don't care if it's a new car or an old car. You don't ask the questions. If you ain't trying to be nosy, that's like you'll ask me, if I bought a 530i, why you ain't buy a 740? Same to man, shoot. If you bought that car, why you ain't ask no questions about it? Don't get stuck with it. All right? So appreciate y'all for coming in. Make sure you hit the like button. Jay Quill on Talk Live. Happy car shopping, happy car hunting, and do what you gotta do. All right? We up out of here. That's free game to y'all. That's free game. That's free game. Make sure you watch this video, man. We out of here. Peace. Salute. Thanks for watching.